Hello, Graphic Design 1. This is Ms. Fitchhorn, and we are in week 8 preparing for our final concert poster project. Today is Tuesday, October 6th, and we are going to learn to use Photopea, which is a substitute for Photoshop, and it's so organically close to Photoshop, and it's free. It's a website. So hey, let's do this. It's accessible on a PC, Google Chromebook, and a Mac. There might be a little lag time due to internet issues, but just be persistent, and if you get stuck, just stop, save your work, and come back to it later. Now, if you look at today's slides under Tuesday, October 5th in your weekly slides, you will see task number 1, which you have to complete. And you're going to learn how to use adjustment layers and filters on a photo. Now, because we're doing a concert poster, I picked images off of Google Images. Typically, you know we're not allowed to use images. These don't belong to us. They're not stock images, royalty-free images. But if we're altering them in Photoshop and they're just for class projects, we're fine. You just cannot post this project without giving credit to the original photographer anywhere on your social media. Otherwise it's stealing. All right. So I hope you've either clicked on one of these images to download them. I've put them in a drive somewhere safe for you, or if you'd rather choose your own artist, that's fine as well. And I hope you have that in your downloads ready to go. I hope you've opened Photopea and you're going to get ready to choose your image. I'll show you how to do that, and then I'll post this video here later on after I'm done recording. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Photopea. And I'm going to go open from computer. How easy is that? Now, new project is for when you're layering a lot of photos, maybe on a canvas, like if you're going to do a collage. But we can go ahead and just open the image we've downloaded. Now, you can do that here, or you can also do what you do in any other computer circumstance when you need to open a file, like in Microsoft Word or whatnot. You go File, Open. Either way, it's the same thing, File, Open, or Open from computer. Photoshop does not have this, so I'm going to do it the Photoshop way, so that way I'm in practice for when we get on the real computer. File, Open with real Adobe. Don't get me wrong, Photopea, I love you. All right, and I know that I downloaded all my images in my downloads. That's where they went. And I am going to go ahead, and I've already completed Debbie Harry. So maybe I'm going to go ahead and pick, Post Malone. He's my boo thing. I like Posty. So I'm going to choose Post Malone. And then I'm going to show you the workspace really quick. You'll notice here, this is what's called the upper dashboard. You'll see it says File, Editing, Tools, information about your image, different layer effects, select, filter, view, window, more. We're going to be working very simply today, so we don't have to know this yet. Up through here. To the left, just like Photoshop, are your tools. Each time we do a new tutorial, or every new tutorial you watch, you'll learn a new tool. Today, we're not going to be using many of these tools. All right, but this is a toolbox, just like in your garage, your parents have a toolbox. This is your toolbox. Now over here, these are things called panels, okay, in Photopea and Photoshop. These are panels. You'll notice that there's a tab called Layer, and these are just like file folder tabs. Notice I can move them around in different, just like in your cabinet, your filing cabinet, and you can click on different ones and they tell you different bits of information. But don't get overwhelmed, because we're not messing with that today. We're doing really simple things today. But you do need to understand what layers are. Every time you add a new adjustment onto this or a new photo, it will stack like actual papers in a pile on your desk. They will stack on top of each other in your layers. This eyeball means you can turn on and off your image. So let me show you what that looks like. So if I turn off the eyeball on my background, the photo goes bye-bye. If I turn on the eyeball, there's the photo. In photography, I always teach my students to never work on an original photo. You might destroy your original photos. Now this picture of Posty I didn't take. It's not my original. So like, who cares, right? Well, if you don't get in the good practice, like brushing your teeth, you got to get in a good practice. This might be your photo. You'll destroy it if you don't save it right. So I'm going to make a copy of my background. Copies can be made by either right-clicking, see the layers active, it's dark gray, this means it's active. If I right-click it, I can duplicate the layer. All right, but I want to show you another way, a shortcut. And notice it says background and then the copy, it's 2. If you want to ever undo anything, Command Z or Control Z on a PC and Chromebook. Command Z on a Mac does that, undo. Control Z on a PC or Chromebook does undo. So remember that command, it will save your life. Another shortcut to make a copy is to do this. It's to go Command J on a Mac, boom, there it is, or Control J on a PC or Chromebook. Remember, Command on Macs and Control, they both start with a C, really easy to remember. If I ever accidentally tell you one direction and not the other, one direction. If I ever tell you one set of directions using certain keys, do know that if I say Command V or Command J or whatever in your PC and Chromebook, it would be Control. All right, so now that I've got this background copy made, I'm going to go ahead and try different filters and name each one different and save the work so I can prove I played around with filters. There's two ways to apply adjustment filters to a photo, and you can either go up to image adjustments and choose from these, but we're not going to do that today because I want you to see how they can stack over here. When you edit an adjustment directly on the image, it permanently does the image, whereas when you come over here in the panels and you come down to do your image adjustments by using an adjustment filter with an adjustment layer, look at this, you guys, I'm on my copy, I go down, with my mouse down here, downstairs, here I am. If you hover over this circle that's half black, half white, notice it says it's an adjustment layer, click it, and what you're going to do is experiment with a couple of these different ones. The first thing I want to do that will give you the most satisfying effect is hue saturation. So let's do that. All right, saturation is the level of color. He's already got a lot going on here, but it's going to get even more intense. If we choose hue, hue means the colors of the photo. So watch me first. Notice when you toggle the slider, you can change Posty. Ooh, he looks really green there. He's the Joker. You can change the hue of your image, and that's one way to adjust a photo, all right, for your poster if you really want to do something wild. And if you want to save a copy of hue to show me that you used hue, then you have to save it before we move on. Notice right here, this is my tab telling me that I have got my image of Post Malone up, and don't hit the close button. That's what the X means. Double click it, and this is different than Photoshop. So for Aiden and Spencer, this is different, so pay attention. When you click on this file name, I left clicked on my Mac. I don't know what it would be in a PC, but you'll get this pop up. You can't leave it that file name. You have to do your last name, first initial, underscore. I would do filter 1 or filter, or name it hue or something so you know what, yeah, I would name it what adjustment you're doing so you know what you did to get to the result. It's a good way to remember what tools do what. And then we name it OK, and once we've changed the file name, then we can go File, Save as a PSD. You can't save it as a PSD till you change the name. File, Save as PSD. That means Photoshop working file. In this case, Photo P working file. Notice I went right to my downloads. And then File, Export as JPEG. You have to always put both a PSD and JPEG in your file folders. And yes, you always want to make sure when you get this pop-up window, this is asking us what our quality is. I always save it high quality so you don't get pixelation. All right, so I've got that one. Now, notice over here, because we put the hue filter on this, you could always start a new layer. I mean a new filter to do something new, a new adjustment layer, and use a new filter. You can turn off the old one. Look at when I turn off the eyeball, what happens to Posty. Up, hue's gone. Up, hue's gone. That's why I like to do the adjustment layers over here, so that way if I want to see what my work looks like before and after, I can turn on and off stuff. All right, or I can just play with put the hue back to normal instead of starting a whole new adjustment layer, I can just change this to something else by clicking back to normal here, and watch saturation, you guys. Unsaturated means you turned it black and white, right? Because saturation is how much color is in the image. But don't change it black and white, because you have to change your photo more than that. So if you amp up the saturation, look at how crazy of a image you get. All right, so maybe I want to save this. So I'm going to change the name by clicking on this, and I want to know that on my project I did saturation. This is saturation, right? And once I change the name, you go File, again, Save as a PSD, which is the working file. You can't open it in anything but Photopea or Photoshop. And then you go File, Save as JPEG, if it'll ever open. File, Export as JPEG. High quality, yes. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and show you another filter that you can use on top of the photo, but I want you to notice something really quick, is that, hold on, let me get this out of the way, I guess. Hold on, I know I have to do it different than I do in Photoshop. Is that it? No, I don't like the way that did that. There we go. This is a pop open and pop close button right here, if anyone was wondering what these little symbols were. So I can either stack my layers on top of this one, or I can delete this one and try a new adjustment. But the biggest thing I want you guys to know is you can't apply another filter or adjustment on top of an adjustment. Like this is saying that this is our hue saturation adjustment layer. Well, I can't put a new layer on a layer. I have to put a new effect, a new layer, a new adjustment on the photo. So make sure you've got the photo active, and then you're going to try a new one. And I want you guys to just see, you guys, it's up to you. It's really up to you what you do with your photo here. This is to get you used to the tools, but I'm just showing you the most favorite ones. Now, another thing that you can do is invert, and that inverts all the colors. And if you like that, you can change the name and save that one. I'm going to go ahead and do it just to get you guys in the practice of it. Invert, File, Save as a PSD, File, Export as JPEG. Okay, save. Okay, and then I'm going to go back on the photo. I'll turn that off. And let me try what Posterize does. This is really cool. What Posterize does is takes your JPEG and turns it from a photo to an illustration. If you need to zoom in, you can go Command or Control plus to see what you're up to, or you can go Command and Control minus to zoom out. So, and then if ever you've zoomed out so far and you want to bring it back to normal, Command or Control 0 brings it up to normal. So again, Command or Control plus. All right, and then Control or Command 0 brings you to normal. Or you can use this tool at the bottom. It looks like a magnifying glass. And when you click continually on one location, it'll keep bringing the image closer and closer to you. Mine's not working because my internet for some reason. There we go. And then again, to go back out would be Command or Control 0. There we go. And this little hand tool guy that looks like a hand saying, stop! Well, watch what this does. That moves. If my internet would work. Hold on, because this is all an internet-based program. It's supposed to be able to allow you to move throughout a project. So you can, it's like using a hand to move the photo from left to right. But obviously you can tell my internet's working really slow. So it's not at the moment working very well. Anyways, and if ever you need to move something, this is your move tool up here. All right, it's the very top arrow, and that helps you pick stuff up and move it if you have more than one image. Let's go ahead and go back to our layer, our photo layer, and let's try one more. Let's do, oh, let me show you what the Posterize can do really quick, because I didn't show you that. Let's go back to Posterize. Watch this, the levels. If you go up to normal, it just kind of looks somewhat normal. All right, I'll turn off my saturation so you guys can see. And then, so they stack. You can work them with each other. They stack together. But when you posterize it all the way down, do you see how it turns it more into like a completely saturated, crazy really minimalistic illustration. So I usually, when I play around with levels, I'm careful about how far my levels go. I mean, that might be an effect that you actually absolutely love, and that's fine, but I'm going to save this one as posterize before I continue. Okay, again, file, save as PSD, file, export as JPEG, save. Okay, and these do stack, so notice you guys that I posterized it, but turning on and off the saturation, like you can stack your layers to be, to combine together sometimes. And then watch this, when you put a couple of them together and you blend it into the photo, it will blend all these together. I'm not telling you to do this, but I'm showing you when you go multiply, it blends them all together and gives you a total different effect. You can try that. You can try what some of these adjustments will do, like lighten. There's that. Let's try overlay. You can see that you can also change that filter, hard mix. Let's see what exclusion does. Whoa, check out exclusion. That's super cool. So have a muck about, like just experiment, tinker around, move around. You can move layers on top of each other too. Like notice that I put hue and saturation on top of each other. Or here, let's do this so that way you guys can see. I'm going to move them, and depending on which one's on top is the one that is most dominant. All right, so if you want something to be more dominant, you have to move it around a little bit. Another thing I want to do is I want to turn off these filters and get back to the original postie. I'm going to click on the image to make it active. Check this out. There's something called a filter gallery that will apply even more tricks and tips. So if you go to filter gallery, maybe. So check this out. Here is a gallery of ways that you can alter your image. Postie is now glowing edges. All right, you can change the edge width. Now, because my internet's slow, this puts a lot of demand on your internet, so you might have to wait until it's a quiet time in the world. But you can change the smoothness of the edges. You can change the edge width. You can change the edge brightness. Notice as I'm doing that though, and I'm mucking around, it's changing the imagery. So be aware that there's default settings for a reason. So I'm going to bring the edge width down this way. There, I like that. That looks like a neon sign of postie. All right, but let's see what Paint Daubs does. So that makes him look like a painting. Let's see what Splatter does. Splatter is really messy. Sprayed strokes. Looks kind of fun, like a sketch. Bas relief, probably. Yeah, that's really strange. But that'd be cool to layer. Halftone, I turned him into a comic book character. See the halftone pattern. A photocopy always turns out purple for some reason, and stained glass. Now, if you're in Photoshop, there's 100 of filter gallery choices, but we're in free Photopea, so we're not going to be choosy. All right. We're going to do the best we can. So you can change your cell size. You can also change the thickness of the border. But there's a little stained glass postie. I kind of like the glowing edge. Yeah, I'm going to save this one, so I'm going to click OK. But I'm going to name this. This was, what was it called again, you guys? Neon something. This was the filter gallery. Neon, glowing edges, that's it. All right, click OK, file, save as a PSD, file, export as a JPEG. All right, so that's for you to play around with. That's just learning a few tools so you're not overwhelmed. We'll keep stacking the tutorials together. And next time we're going to tackle how to use the eraser and magic wand and the lasso tool. All right, that's it for now. Bye-bye.